I'll walk you through the pledge. Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the October 2nd, 2023 regular meeting of the Planning Commission. Jeremy, can we have the roll call, please?
McGee, Hauser,
Yes.
Bixson,
Here.
Sage, Gasson,
Here.
Kenjuk,
Here.
King, Lloyd,
Here.
Stone.
Here.
Okay, will you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we are going to proceed to line item number 3. This is public comment. Anyone who would like to make a public comment on a matter not on the agenda, please step up to the lectern.
I would like to ask a question.
Oh, okay, ma'am, please come all the way up to the lectern. State your name and your address for the record, please.
Okay.
You might have to move the microphone down just a little bit.
It's
right ahead.
Wendy Dessy, and I live at 1824 Flagstone Circle, Rochester.
Good evening, Ms. Dessy. Go right ahead, please.
I'm just wondering about the marijuana proposals. What role, if any, would the Planning Commission have over the location, parking requirements, and required traffic studies if these ballot proposals pass?
Okay. I think that's probably a question best equipped for our city manager, Mr. Banda. So, Mr. Banda, if you don't mind, if you could answer the question to the best of your ability, it would be helpful. Thank you.
I'm gonna look this way, you can see right there, so don't be offended if I'm not looking at you, there's.
Yeah, that's fine.
So, in general, if both ballot proposals pass, and in the second ordinance, they lay out, the rules and regulations, how we pick licenses. It basically says 3 anywhere where, general retail is allowed. So that would be in our zoning classifications, B1 and CBD, and it's literally that easy. So they get treated like any other retailer. If they went into a store just doing retail, we take the gross square feet of the space, divide it by 200, that's how many parking spaces they need. It has nothing to do with if they're gonna have 1,000 cars or come there or not. Our ordinance isn't set up that way. It's strictly a formula. So the Planning Commission, if the people, whoever came in and they got the 3, they got the 3 locations set, then if they had to touch the building, the parking lot, et cetera, and that triggered the Planning Commission to get a look at it, then it would go through a normal site plan approval, which might be a traffic study. It might be work with MDOT, but we don't know because we don't know how big. If they come in and say we only want 1,000 square feet, they might just be able to go in there with enough parking. So can't answer clearly because we don't know at this point. All we do know is that if both are passed, they'd be allowed anywhere where you have regular commercial. So that's up and down Main Street, from East Street to Walnut. Basically, they couldn't go in the industrial area, and they couldn't go down in the office area down University. So that's the best answer I can give you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Banda, to that point, when you talk about the formula for parking spaces as a function of square feet, can you remind the audience and the public and maybe some of the members up here, including me, what that formula is, how many spaces are required per square foot?
Yep. So each category in the zoning ordinance has a different use group. So start at the lowest required parking would be warehousing, would be the 1 to 1,500. If you're in an industrial building, it would be 1 to 800. When I say 1, 2, it means you take the gross square feet of the building or the space, divided by that factor. So let's say we had 1,000 square feet industrial, they would need 1 space. If it was 1,000 square feet of warehousing, it would be rounded up to 1. If it was a restaurant with alcohol, that factor is 1 for every 100. So that same 1,000 square feet would need 10. If it was a restaurant without alcohol, then it's 1 to 150. Any retail, doesn't matter what you sell, is the same, 1 to 200. So office, general office is 1 to 300. square feet. So again, if you had a general office in 1,000 square feet, you need 3.3 spaces, round down to 3. If you had medical office, that's taken at the same calculation as retail. So that's for every 200 again. So it depends on what it is, but purely on retail, it's just take the gross square feet, divide by 200.
And I'm not a math major, so let's say it's 1,000 square feet of retail, you would need five
Five
spaces,
spaces,
correct?
correct.
And so 2,000, 10 spaces, okay.
Right, and I know what a lot of folks are upset about, and we don't define liquor stores, it's liquor. You're selling liquor, it's 1 to 200. So they made sure in the ordinance that they proposed that they get treated just like that. If you wrote your own ordinance, and were able to withstand a lawsuit, then you'd have to have a reason to say a retail of cannabis is different than a retail of liquor or church books or anything that you want to say. So, everybody knows they're heavy users, but it's not defined in anybody's ordinance, so.
Okay. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, any other public comment at this time? Okay, at this point, I will close the public comment, and I'll move to line item number 4, which is the approval of the minutes. Consideration of the minutes of the regular meeting of September 21st, 2023.
So moved.
Okay, support?
Support.
Support from Commissioner Stone. The roll call, or discussion. Jeremy, please.
Hauser,
Yes.
Vixen,
Yes.
Gasson,
Yes.
Kenjuk,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Lloyd,
Yes.
Stone.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, item number 5, now we're turning to the public hearing, and this is the notice of the public hearing for 333 3rd Street. This is the Rewald and Sons development. Mr. City Manager.
I'll take that. So, a month ago, we set the public hearing for this evening to go over the special use and site plan of the Rewald building. And I'm gonna have them go over their presentation again to describe the building. But remember, the first time we looked at it was a 3-story building, a market, and 2 floors of office. And then they came back last month where we set the public hearing for tonight. And so we reduced it down to 2 stories. So the top floor would be office, and the bottom floor would be a market/restaurant with outdoor dining. At that time, we talked about, Chris was here from the architects and talked about what other things we looked at. It was suggested that on the corner, we gussy that up a little bit with like maybe a half-brick wall, some landscaping, bike racks, so that would be important. And then, was it more?
Moving to parking
Yes.
spaces, handicap parking.
Move the handicap parcels closer to the back where we can get to the back. So we'll call it lack of communication. They did all that, but didn't submit the plans. So Vinnie did not have time to do official review of the plans. So a couple of things we can do tonight. Those are the 3 things that are different, and Chris, you'll go over that. But you could, after have the public hearing, if you wanted to approve it with conditions of seeing the plans for those 3 things, or we could leave the public hearing
Continue.
open, and then we're having our second meeting in October, and then reopen it, keep the public hearing going, and then make your decision there, which would be still, it's to pass on to city council, the special project and the site plan review. So,
All right.
a little bit stumbly, but,
Why don't-
she needs final drawings just to make it official and the sustainability index, so.
Why don't
I think we should hear the.
Yeah, of course. Let's hear what they have to say, and then we can discuss this once they're done with the presentation. And if it's not too substantive, then maybe we can make it subject to conditions. But let's, go
Okay,
ahead.
so are we going to hear a report from Vidya then? There's no
there's-
report.
There's no, it's the same report as
Miss-
before. Oh, go ahead, video, yep.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, typically when you do a preliminary hearing on a special project, the preliminary review that you had before you at the last meeting is only 2 pages long. It's basically a summary of only discussion points that I believe the planning commission needs to provide the applicant with guidance. It is not a review letter. So after your last meeting, the typical practice is for the applicant to revise their plans and turn in new sets of plans so that I can review them for your packet. It'll be a full special projects review letter and a sustainability evaluation letter like it was done for the granary, but I did not get anything till about 3 or 4 days ago. So your packet had already been distributed before I even got the plans. So it wasn't possible to review it for your packet. My suggestion is, of course, I would defer to Nick and the city attorney. You could have the public hearing and close the public hearing. You don't need to leave the public hearing open. but I would defer action on it till your next meeting so that you have the entire review in front of you. The problem with conditional approval is if at a later date there should be a condition that does not align with what the Planning Commission said, they would have to come back before you unnecessarily. It would be inconvenient to the applicant also. So procedurally, I would suggest have the public hearing, close the public hearing, but take action on it at your next meeting.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I would agree with that because we're going to have another public hearing at City Council for the special project. So I agree with Vidya. And we'll wait till the 17th, is that, I think, 16th to take action totally.
That's her. Okay. Any other, Mr. Gasson, did you have?
I think my question got answered, that what we have in our packet is not the new and updated with
That's
those 3
correct.
points. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
Awesome. I'm Sean Rewald, representing Frank Rewald and Sons. We're really excited about this project. We're excited about the jobs it's going to bring during construction, the people it's going to bring into the city with the office spaces there, and the generated tax revenue for the city as well. With that, I will turn it over to Chris Aller from AKA.
Thank you. Hopefully I'm sharing, I hit all the right buttons here. Thanks for having us back here. Since our last meeting, we did make some changes to our proposal. They're minor in nature. From the last meeting, there was comments regarding location of handicap parking, also some bike racks and some outdoor seating area, and then also possibly improving the southwest corner of the site as well. So the majority of the project has remained unchanged. As I move forward here, this is the overall site plan. You know, the majority of the project is the same, but as we zoom in, you can take a closer look. This is the building proposed here, still the same square footage. And we're talking about relocating 2 handicap spaces that were further on the south here, and we've moved them up, I don't know why, moved them up further over here, closer to the front door, make a little better access to the handicapped public. And then we're also proposing a bike rack and a bench out in front as well to help increase and promote that traffic on that trail behind the FRS headquarters. And then also here's the next view. This is the southwest corner of the site. So we have this area down here that we're proposing some additional improvements, some landscaping, and then some brick garden walls to kind of frame the entry from Farmers Market. So this is an overall site plan with the site circulation that goes along with the environmental scorecard. Once again, we have the path coming from the Lions Park coming to the front of the building itself, and then also we're trying to improve this pathway in front of the other side of the building, and that connects down into the south here. We have to work through some of the details on how this pathway connects to the existing sidewalk and how we can save a tree there. There's a nice little tree that once we get into the engineering details, we'll see if we can have our cake and eat it too with that. The plans have remained unchanged since the last time you've seen it. We do have some images. One of the comments from the last meeting was about the balcony and having an opaque balcony. And our intent is to match the balcony that's on the FRS headquarters right now, so that would be like a wire type balcony. That's just a limitation of the rendering that you see there. So once again, this is the view of the front door of the building itself. You can see here we've kind of ghosted out the trees in front, but we propose a bike rack and a bench out front. And then those other 2 handicap parking spaces would be over on this side. Another view, similar view here, you can see the bike and the bench as well. Other views are still similar from the south. And then as you look from the farmer's market at the new building here, you'll see some new landscape areas with some 42-inch high brick landscaping walls here to kind of frame that entry into the property. And that summarizes all the proposed changes.
commissioners. Mr. Gasson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What type of signage do you envision on the building? Is it surface mounted, illuminated, Is it multiple tenants, I assume? Is there a place that you're envisioning it going?
That has not been identified yet. We proposed to apply for that signed permit at a future date. We do have right now a second floor office tenant, one single tenant on the second floor, and then a market and a restaurant on the first floor. So I would see potentially 3 signs if that would be allowed by the signage process.
One more.
Mr. Gass.
In the market, I know it's kind of a boutique market, or I think it's that. Is there a basket approach to that sort of shopping? That people are going to be carting in carts from the parking lot into the building? Or is it going to be much smaller type of grocer than needing baskets outside in the parking lot?
We don't anticipate baskets. It's more of a boutique market. Think something like a small scale Eataly. So it's not like a grocery store or anything like that. So we don't anticipate carts in the parking lot.
Thank you. Thanks,
Mr. Kenzik.
Yes, there is a loading dock that faces Second and Third Street. If you, okay, so on this picture, it shows that the loading dock is actually hidden from the street?
Correct. It's not, it's a loading zone. It's not a loading dock. It won't be recessed or raised at all. So it'll actually be similar to the loading area for the Mills restaurant right now. So there's you can kind of see here 2 double doors, double man doors. So this would be a dedicated loading and unloading area. The vehicles would have their own lift to them, and you could get large items in through there. And then you can see here, this is a brick screen wall where the dumpster would be, and then some mechanical equipment would be screened behind that.
With the loading area, though, it seems to be encroaching on the parking there.
Yes, if I can go to a site plan, maybe we can take a better look at that. Come on. So we do have parking along the south side of the property, that's along the whole south portion of it. And then we have, it's kind of hard to see here on the screen, but we do have a dedicated loading and unloading zone right up against the building. So you'd have a drive aisle, parking, and then the property line.
So, if I may, so you would need, the 18-foot dedicated space is then 22 feet, then the loading zone's 10 by 40, so they'd have to make that work. That's a 2-way in front of the loading zone, good point. So we can check those dimensions.
Is your concern, Richard, that if there's a truck in the way, that those spaces would be otherwise
Exactly.
not usable?
That, or if somebody's parked there, they won't be able to get out?
Right.
And we see that parking as being employee parking spaces.
Will they be designated as such?
I think so, yes.
It would still have to have a proper width driveway though, so.
Any further questions? Oh, Mr. Lord.
Just real quick, if I remember right, at the last meeting, there was discussion about something happening at the intersection of Third and Second.
Yep, so, if I may, so we decided that after working with TIA, the traffic folks, that a signal there would not be appropriate, so we're gonna limit, no left turns out of that driveway, and then no left turns into Third Street from Second Street. So again, it's gonna be on the fly. They talked about, you try to do that through experience, but we know right out of the gate, we don't want everybody stacking on that street to come out. So when you come out of the market, you'd have to turn right to go to Water, or up to Water to go north to University. So, but no traffic signal. After listening to what you all said, then we talked to the traffic engineering persons, and the warrants would be tough to be there. It's on the curve.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. So someday, if Mr. Suave ever comes in and does something there where we relocate all the driveways, then we would talk maybe even about a roundabout or something. But again, we were trying to slow the traffic down before it gets to Second Street. So it was determined that a traffic signal would not be appropriate there.
Did you say you're gonna limit the no left on Second, on the
Correct.
Third as well?
On the third, mhm.
Mr. Lord, any further questions on that?
No, I mean, I guess just one,
Please.
did you, Was there any consideration given to sort of flipping the building where the restaurant is and the loading is at all?
Yep, we talked about the last meeting.
Yes, we did. When we took a look at where the building wants to sit on the site, and there's a lot of different considerations that we took into consideration. We did consider flipping the building over and having the patio area on the south side of the building. But that's south-facing with all the sun, and then it's also along Second Street. So we have a lot of vehicular traffic. It's gonna be hot and loud. So we like the idea of it being on the other side, nestled in between two buildings, kind of capturing that river edge. And we thought that would be a nice, much more enjoyable, quiet space for an outdoor dining. And then that allowed us to capture that back path along the creek and kind of help that overall circulation throughout the community.
Fair enough.
Mr. Gasson, did you have another question?
Yeah, it's more of a curiosity. I wasn't at the last meeting, so it may have been discussed, but 2 floors versus more, was that a consideration, just, or is it structured to add on to it possibly in the future?
There's no plans to add on to it in the future. Based on the original meeting, we wanted to reduce some of the parking load on the site. So we took a look at different ways we could reduce the demand from the building itself. So we increased the size of the building footprint, but reduce the overall height and overall square footage. It's more desirable to the tenants to have a little bit larger floor plates, and it worked out well with the parking for the site.
The curiosity, Mr. Chairman, comes from, there's only so many places to develop in Rochester, and this is the developable area. It seems as though there's an opportunity for area, and I get the balance between the required parking and tenants' preferences, et cetera. I just wanted to ask the question out of curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Any questions, any further questions, Mr. Gasson?
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You guys go on this side? Okay. I guess at this time, I will open this up to public hearing. So we will open the public hearing.
Yeah,
Oh,
so-
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so really, what are we voting on here if we don't have a completed site plan?
No,
I
it's not
mean,
that you're
so
voting, you're
this
just
seems
hearing.
like, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
No, it seems like a nod the head, we're gonna have a meeting in 2 weeks. Why are we even voting on this?
Well, we're not
We're not.
voting on anything, so
So
we're just
what-
asking to have the public hearing, get that out of the way. If there's more comments, then we'll be able to address those, but no vote at all tonight.
Yeah, we were going to open it, close it, and then have them come back on the 16th.
Correct.
Okay.
For a full.
For the full proper,
presentation.
yeah. And it'll have the supplement that we discussed at the meeting last week, those 3 issues, provide Vinnie an opportunity to review those. and give it to us.
Sustainability
Yep,
report and Vidia's full-on special project report, where they'll talk about what the give is to the city too.
right. Okay. Does everyone understand procedurally? Okay. All right, so at 7:25, I will open the floor up to public hearing. Okay. Seeing that there's no public hearing, I will close it at 7:25. So I guess what we'll do is we will see you at the next meeting on October 16th. That will give the city and administration and us to review that in advance, and we will take it up at that point, and we'll take a vote then, okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Give me just a second here, please. I lost my agenda. Okay. Moving on to line item number 6. Consideration of a special exception for parking in lieu for Cafe 316 located at 422 South Main. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you. So, Commissioners, we talked about doing a little better job of streamlining processes, especially on these pay in lieu of requests. So what we're doing tonight is the consideration of 4 parking spaces for pay in lieu for Cafe 316, which is the owner here? Oh, okay. All right, so we're setting the, yep. So it's a cafe below the Dessert Oasis. We will take action not again tonight. It's at the meeting of the 16th, so we set the public hearing before we set the public hearing here. So we wanted to get the time to save 30 days. So we're asking that the public hearing's already been set for the 16th. I was hoping they would come tonight just to talk about it a little bit, but it's they'll do that at the next meeting, and we'll have our normal public hearing. Video will have a report, everything as normal. But we just want to let you know that we did set that public hearing for consideration of that request.
Okay. So there's really no action for us to take at
Correct.
this time. Okay.
The the site plans were in the packet and everything like that.
Yeah.
We had set the public hearing at the previous,
Right.
meeting, so.
Okay, wonderful.
So we did that at the second meeting last time to get that 15 days. We couldn't make it for tonight, so yeah.
So it'll be
fourth
on the
week-
agenda for the 16th.
Yeah, that's why they'll be here then.
All right. Number 7, miscellaneous, Mr. Banda.
Don't have anything, obviously cannabis is on top of everybody's minds. People can find all the information that we know on the website. It's right on our front page. You can click on the 2 ballot proposals that will be decided by the voters on November 7th, I believe. And at that point, and we'll decide what happens that evening, and then there's a time frame that happens pretty quickly, where it comes to the city council to pick the licensees, and then there's a certain amount of time for them to apply, and then the council has to act within that. So it's all laid out. Anybody can read that, have full information on the ballots. It's got the same information, so people will be well informed what's going on. At our next regular meeting in October, Mr. LaChurco's brought in plans. I think Vidya got them mailed to her, so she'll have a bunch of time to be able to review. It's for the new iteration of the apartments that were down on the old cement plant, right, the preserves, thank you. And then also next to it, a long time ago, we had something called 210 Diversion, which was a condominium complex up against the bridge abutment that was a little bit above Main. So Mr. LaChurco is representing someone that would want to partner with him and build both those at the same time. So that plan's also been brought in officially. It will go under review from Vidya when she finds that those have the appropriate documentation that we need to bring it forward. We will bring it to your honorable body. Hopefully, that's the meeting in November.
Okay.
And that's really all I have.
Go ahead, Jeremy, please.
I just have a master plan, Parks master plan update.
Oh, please.
So we've been working with McKenna, as you know. Last Saturday, or two Saturdays ago, we had the community engagement at Elizabeth Park, and went really well. We had about 40 people come and give their input on what they want to see at Elizabeth Park. It was all positive, and everybody was kind of on the same page that we want a passive park, no required parking, obviously, but something for the neighborhood and something that will draw the neighborhood into that park again with maybe some kids' play structure stuff for sure for all of the neighborhood, but then also maybe some more passive adult activities like potential bocce ball court, potential like hammock poles, so you don't have to go and find those 2 perfect trees, and those stationary poles where you can have the hammocks there, and some adult workout equipment, and just bring the park into and make it look like a Rochester park. Update the benches, put doggy stations, make sure it's ADA compliant and everything like that. So it was a real positive experience that we had. And then I looked earlier this evening, and we have had 221 responses to the survey that we had sent out, and that started the Sunday of Art and Apples. So that's a pretty good turnaround for that amount of people to respond to the survey. So we're still going to be continuing to work with McKenna. I'll be meeting with them this week. And then on the 16th, we plan to bring the draft for everybody to vote on. And I'll obviously get it to you guys as soon as possible once that comes. So.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, I do have a couple other things. First, I thank Jeremy and Alec Mizikar, our DPW director. They really own this. And the last time we went around this, it was pretty soft. They've taken a really hard line at it and gone at it to get as much public input as we could as we update what we've done in the past since our last 5 years, and then where we're trying to head. So I appreciate that. A couple of things. So parking. So if you notice today, the first lights went on the buildings already. So Dan started lighting up the buildings. Takes between now and usually the Friday before Lanyap, which is on a Monday before Thanksgiving, to get everything going. So they got the stuff on the roofs already last week, and now they're actually physically putting the lights on the building. The parking, the dining platforms in the street will come out by October 21st. We have Halloween where we go downtown, and have all the outside dining folks that are in the MDOT right away, that'll all be gone so that we can have clear passage for all the kiddies when they're doing their trick-or-treating. So then we'll take the platforms out at the same time. In theory, they can stay till November 1st. That's the agreements, but we talked to all the business owners and said we want to get this wrapped up. I don't think we have to worry about snow at this point, but for traffic safety when they're moving the kids around for that. So, and then lastly, if you get a chance to go to Dino Hill, give a huge shout out to Jason Dickinson. So he worked with our asphalt contractor, Bowen and Associates. They do a lot of the little mill and fill jobs, and they kind of dig in and take the toughest jobs and do a great job. Somehow they found the time, and we found the materials to go into Dino Hill, and the whole loop has been put down. I think it's 3 or 4 inches of limestone fines. So it's crushed limestone, 10 feet wide, all the way through Dino Hill. Amazing. I mean, they graded it all down. It's put in, it's rolled, and we've got nothing but people saying, how did you do this in 2 days? And it's beautiful. So they're going to be having their Halloween hoot, I think it's called. I think it's on the 15th. It's a Friday night in a couple of weeks. So we're going to invite city council and you guys and anybody that wants to come to a ribbon cutting just for those past, because we'll have the people there already. It's a Friday at like 5 o'clock, a little bit. We just thought we'd jump on their event. Sue thought that was great that we could celebrate that because it's a huge difference. And then the goal is to take that same materials, come behind Dino Hill, behind the dinosaurs, the big berm there, all the way around to the Sugar Maple Grove and finish that off. So
Great.
first step, and we had money set aside to do this, to match a grant that we didn't get. We tried to get a $76,000 grant to do the same thing, and we were not successful, but we had set aside money to like $16,500 to actually be our match. And working with Bowen, we used that money and did the whole thing. So we saved a whole lot of money.
Great.
And very proud of that. So take a look if you're over there. It's great. So it's good for the river too, because it stops the runoff of all the dirt and the debris that goes into that river. So
Wonderful.
we have not heard about the community house grant yet. Hopefully pretty soon we'll hear. And then we have not heard about the front porch grant yet either. What's that? Yeah, that's true. We have the third one for the Spark for the skate park at Point. So
Okay.
we're kind of keeping our fingers crossed for all those good things.
I have a question, but if anyone else has one first, any questions, Mr. Mayor?
I had a comment, but go ahead, do your question.
I don't want to put you on the hot seat again, but with respect to the question that was posed by the resident as it pertains to this parking, that's, number's been going through my head here a little bit. There's some existing locations around town. Presuming that the parking isn't changed, because those parking lots can't be expanded or modified, and based on the volume of numbers or cars that people talk about, that you talked to us about at that September 7th meeting, if those facilities were to be located at the suggested places, whether it's at 900 or 908 or somewhere around here, based on the parking that's at those spots and compared to the anticipated volume of business, is it reasonable to believe that there would be a backup of traffic on Main Street or University as cars were trying to get it out because there would be a scarcity of parking in comparison to the number of potential customers?
So again, I want to make sure I don't get a sue, but
I understand. I'm not trying to make you say anything.
And I appreciate that,
Please.
but as a direct planning situation, I did some of my own little bit of homework. So it's not even a rumor anymore. They say they have certain spots that are tied up in leases. Doesn't mean they're going to get them there tied. So I went and calculated what the Park Planning Commission approved for the tied site plan.
The tied plan is right across the street.
Right across the street
Okay.
on University. So that was part drop off, only dry cleaning. It's a little space, so that required 3 parking spaces because it was drop off. Then they had office in the back. So I think the total there is like 12 spaces that were required on that site. If you made that entire building retail, doesn't mean they have to do that. But if they said, we want the whole property, they would be way out of whack on parking. They would never be able to add any more parking in that site. It's built out, so they would be deficient parking. In meeting with these potential operators, their first answer, like any other economic person or any developer coming in, was, I'll just do pay in lieu of parking. So I made it very clear at broadcasted TV things, et cetera, that we own, it's not a right for this planning commission to give required parking pay in lieu of. We use some logic behind it. So for years, and we have it documented, that for instance, the karate studio that was north of the BP, that was the parking required was based on capacity of students. So that was 14. So the gentleman that owned that building, when the karate studio left, he said, well, I'm gonna turn that into retail. Retail by the whole building would have needed 28. So I'll just pay for 14 spaces, $14,000 I can pay over 10 years. So I said, the staff's position is going to be, there is no public parking north of Main Street anywhere. on the east side of the street, I'm sorry, on the west side of the street. So it would be horrible if we would take your money, but not have any place for any of your employees or your resident, or your patrons to park it. So we would not support pay in lieu of on the west side. You'd have to walk down the street into the back by lot 10 here at the park. Doesn't make any sense. If you were on Main Street on the east side, south of Second Street, like by Penn Station, we'll just do pay in lieu of. Where are you gonna go? You'd have to walk down the street with you cross at the light at Second, walk down a quarter mile to get to the lot, that's the DDA, down by the Upper Farmers Market lot. That doesn't make any sense. That would be not a sufficient parking or a safe passageway to get there. So there are some places in town that we could not support pay in lieu of. So Tide, there's no public parking within 2 or 3 blocks of that. You have to go across 2 streets to the deck. We would not support that. So they have to deal with that. Now, they could make a portion of Tide small enough so then they make the parking numbers work. No idea what they're even talking about or what they're proposing. An odd one. So in 2015, when we did the parking management district, I have a chart in my computer that has every single space in the parking management district, which is basically from East Street to Pine Street, from south to bridge to bridge. All of that's in the computer. And if you remember right, what we do is said, a lot of people on Main Street never had any parking because for years, decades, Main Street was exempt from parking. From bridge to bridge, you did not have to have a parking space because we didn't want people buying properties and tearing them down to build parking, right? So, so we made this, we put them in the computer base. Whatever you had as your use on 2015, when we locked in that chart, you're good. So if you were retail, you can put any retail you like in that space. Anytime you put in a use that is more intense by parking requirements, you do not have the right to do that. You'd have to pay in lieu of, or find a way, reciprocal parking, hours of operation, et cetera. So oddly enough, one of the ones that we've been told has a signed agreement is Dino's Cookie Dough, the former Crazy Greek. That is in my chart as a restaurant, 1 to 150. Let's say a cannabis retail outlet wanted to go in there, as small as that is, they would automatically be approved for parking because they would be at 1 to 200, not 1 to 150. Now, where they have 0 parking, not even a space for an employee.
Right.
You'd have to park in the Firestone lot between Mr. Sackmar's agents and Corey at the Firestone and all the other tenants, the Framers Workshop, et cetera. That lot's filled by 8 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning. So it seems kind of odd that someone would do a business that, by their own admission, you could 1,000 people a day and have access to 0 parking until 8 o'clock at night. So just because someone said they signed a lease or intent doesn't mean it's going to work for us or them or the planning commission. So again, if they have to touch that building, anything that requires to come to the planning commission, then we do, as video always does, a full site plan, sustainability, whatever we have to do, we're going to treat them like everybody else to make sure that we have a shot at that. But there are a few that if they just wanted anywhere on Main Street that was retail, they could just move in. So I have not talked to anyone or had confirmed that anybody on Main Street between University and Second has signed an intent. There was no vacancies basically anyway, so doesn't mean anything with, they've gone to businesses that are fully operational and said they have opportunities to force a lease, so we'll see
Questions?
if that helped or not.
It was very helpful, and I think, to me, it certainly explained some questions that I had, so thank you very much. And I appreciate the balancing act the city has to have when it talks about this, so thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, because it's marijuana all the time now. Of course, the city does not take a position, but I am allowed to take a position as a citizen as well. And, you know, I get a lot of emails because the city council is kind of at the center of this storm. And as I said at the city council meeting, I guess I'll take this opportunity briefly to say a few things. First, in 2018, the city council, the elected city council, voted not to allow marijuana dispensaries in Rochester. So now a outside group has paid to get this on the ballot and try to get 3 marijuana dispensaries in our downtown. So I just urge, and there, you know, there's 3 issues. There's the traffic, there's the security, and then there's the cost to the city, which I believe would be a net negative because we'd have to hire more police and more, you know, different kinds of things, public services. So I urge everybody that we live in this city. We live in Rochester. We make the decisions, not outside businesses who don't care about our city. I've never seen a bigger grassroots effort in all my years in city politics, which has been a long time, to defeat this. You see no signs, so I urge everybody to get out and vote no and take our city back and let big business know that the city residents, we who live here, run our city. But, you know, we have a great campaign, a great grassroots campaign, but people have to get out and actually vote. So that's what I urge people to do. And again, the city council, if this passes, we have no say in anything. You know, it will come before the planning commission and things like that, but the city council has no say. And so think about it, they're taking away the elected leaders' power to do anything. But that's what they want. So again, this is a big issue in our city, and I urge everybody to get out and vote.
And Mayor, to be fair, there is an opportunity, like, that's why I use Dino's as an example. They wouldn't have to come here, they wouldn't have to come anywhere. They could
Right.
apply for a C of O and say, I'm retail, let me in. And no, other than the building department code, that's the only time we would ever see it.
City's handcuffed.
Right, so that's the issue. So I just have one other comment, something not on marijuana. We had a parking committee meeting, and we are going to, on the parking garages, we're gonna have to replace the arm thing and, where you put the money in, but the difference is, and the city council's voted on it, I believe, is that in the parking meter, in the parking garages only, it is gonna go to credit card only. Where the rest of the city, you can put cash or credit cards in the meters, but for the 2 parking decks, it's gonna be credit card only. And believe it or not, the police chief said all the problems that has, which there's a lot of problems, it's all because of the money that gets put in. You know, somehow the dollar bills and the coins mess up the system. And most other cities have gone that, so, but it's the parking garages only is going to be, credit card only, and, the rest of the city will stay, the meters will stay
Yeah,
the
Mayor,
same.
it did not come forward. We have to bring that formal proposal. We talked about it, but we are gonna bring a formal proposal with the vendor that we pick. But the mayor's 100% right, it would be cashless.
I
And
presume it
we
was
would put
cashless.
banners on the decks, everything, we would communicate really well. At the PAC meeting, they talked about, you're gonna have to let people know, because you don't wanna pull in and say, or get in there and take the ticket, and then how do I get out? So it would be a campaign.
I noticed, another question, but I did notice line item number 8 is public comment, so I suppose I should open up. If there's any further comment based on what was discussed recently, please come up to the lectern. No. And is there anyone online? I forgot to ask before. Do we know if there's anyone listening who would like to?
Rose?
No, there's been no one waiting.
Okay, so and I think
Thanks,
we've covered line item number 9, which is the upcoming agenda items, correct? Correct. Okay. Any other comments from commissioners on this side? On that side, none? Okay. I will adjourn the meeting until October 16th. Thank you, everyone.
Sarah, they have the flag, right spot.
Right.
I'm